Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, you must become the victor. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love you, but we're not watching the full 32 minutes of David Jaffe. We're just not. I wouldn't subject you to that. I don't want to subject me to that. But I do want to cover this topic. I do want to mention this absolute loser. I mean, it's unbelievable what a freak and a fraud this guy is. And he does a video excoriating Asmongold, which is basically just him venting his frustration at the fact that Asmongold is successful and he is not. Not at least on the same level or by the same metric. I don't know how this guy does financially. I don't care. But I can tell you that he is a laughingstock. He's a joke. Whenever he opens his mouth, people do videos just to mock him. And here's the reality. And most critical, I mean, he would agree with this guy about the LGBT community. Even Asmongold would agree with this guy probably on the LGBT community to some extent. I don't at all. The way that Asmon and David Jaffe and a lot of these other people treat the LGBT community is with kid gloves, which I don't think is the correct position. I think we're in the position that we're in today because we've been too tolerant, we've been too lenient. This isn't normal. That the entire movement isn't normal. It doesn't mean that everyone who's part of that group is bad. Not at all. Doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that they're bad people, but it does mean that they need help. And affirming them and saying, hey, you know, this is normal, is not the correct way to deal with it. The way you deal with it is by explaining that you may have certain urges, but these urges are wrong. These are sinful. You do your best to basically suppress them. And the thing is, you know, everyone talks about wanting to be themselves. So like, I want to be me. What even is that? What does being yourself actually mean? It's just a buzzword for narcissistic people to try to impose their will on others. Like, you have to accept me in this way. And no. From a societal standpoint, this doesn't help anyone. And as we see, allowing these freaks to run around unfettered has not been a benefit to the individual, to the community, to the country, or to anyone online. It has been more harmful and more destructive than anyone could have imagined. And so, without further ado, we're going to watch part of this video, not the whole thing, and we're going to listen to this idiot in real time, because I think that it's important to identify these people and then make fun of them, but also to record what they've said so that people understand that this is what we had to go through. This is the sort of mental illness, virtue-hungry, you know, low-value, degenerate, just garbage that we had to endure in 2025.
Community. I invite you, Asmongold, to read up. The guy's name was Sam Nordquist. He was 24 years old. He's dead now. He was tortured. He was murdered. Never did anything wrong. Except.
So you're telling me that there's a person who was gay that got killed? That's crazy. I would have never believed that. Wow. I guess every gay person is right about everything now. Great argument.
So, you already see this guy this fat cream puff of a man, tried to use emotional manipulation. And basically, I just did a video with about Moist Critical doing the same thing, where Moist Critical came out with this emotionally charged introduction about a story that, can you believe that NetEase laid off a bunch of their people and their game director? And it turns out that no, they didn't get rid of their game director. They got rid of a small branch of people in the U.S. Because the game had come out and they were no longer in need of their R&D services. So the emotional manipulation is real. In this story, the person that, or the people that apparently did this to this guy were other LGBTQ people that also knew him. So this guy didn't know that, or if he did, he's being intentionally malicious and dishonest. But this guy uses this as this kind of like blackmail, like, oh, look at these MAGA Trump supporters that just found this LGBTQ person and did this. So therefore, it makes sense that these disgusting creatures are at this event screeching and being rude and disrespectful and obnoxious and just absolutely disgusting. It makes sense for them to do that because of this one story, which turns out that it was actually a story that was counter to everything that he said, which is just unbelievable. And they're gonna go through it, because I think later on, Asmongold actually pulls up the story. In fact, maybe we'll jump right in.
Asmongold, to read up.
This is total emotional manipulation, and it doesn't work on me at all. I'm sorry. It doesn't. Some guy gets killed, and I'm supposed to now agree with every person that an LGBT, everything.
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
We're part of the LGBTQ community? Wait, what? Standing with people like that, you become defined by them. And so that's why that's why I'm like that. A report is saying that the people who killed the 24-year-old were part of the LGBTQ community? Wait, what? What happened to Sam Nordquist? Suspects knew Nordquist and were part of the LGBTQ community, police say. So they were also, wait, what? Friendly fire? Basically, yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. It does, because people's behavior and their capacity to violence is not directly correlated with their sexuality. So there can be gay people or trans people that are totally normal. And this shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. Suspected were arrested after police searched the last place was staying. To help alleviate the understandable concern his murder could be a hate crime, we are disclosing that Sam and his assailants were known to each other, identified as LGBTQ+, and at least one of the defendants lived with Sam in the time period leading up to the instant offense.
So basically, as I was saying, this freak here, David Gaff, or whatever the hell his name is, he tried to use this story as emotional manipulation, emotional blackmail. It's why it's always so important to immediately disregard that sort of tactic and not to buy into it in any way, shape, matter, or form. Because 9 times out of 10, it's dishonest. And the other time, it's honest. But they're misrepresenting it, which is the case here, where it turns out that the people who did it were also LGBTQ and knew the person. I mean, so the entire story falls apart, and this is what this guy opens with.
Have the fucking confidence, the fucking bones to fucking be who he is.
Yep.
But, I guess that's not good enough for you.
Who is this guy?
Asmongold. He doesn't pass the cool check. That's unfortunate for him because he's dead.
What do you think? I'm like spamming a W because some random guy got killed because he's gay? Why would I do that? That's insane. What? Who is this?
Dude, envy is a hell of a drug. I mean, it is really, really weird to see what it can do to somebody.
Now, I wonder if someone like Asmongold, seriously, I wonder if he is aware of his influence, and I wonder if he's
I am. That's why I do what I do.
sad or depressed or
Is that this isn't
not terribly bright.
So, is he sad or depressed or not terribly bright? Dude, you just pulled up a story to try to make your point, to try to emotionally manipulate people, and the story that you used not only didn't make your point, but it actually demonstrated my point, that these people are a problem and these people are mentally ill and they need to be treated as such, which, by the way, isn't cruelty. You don't treat people who are mentally ill with cruelty. That's not what it is. Maybe cruelty by your pathetic warp standard. But the first thing that you do is you don't affirm them. You don't normalize them. They're not normal. Their lifestyle isn't normal. You try to get them help. You try to get them something that will normalize and balance their life. It's unbelievable to me that this is even a conversation. These people should be helped, not harmed, helped. And what this guy is saying is, well, the way that you help them is by you affirm all of their delusions, all of their bad behaviors, all of their outbursts, their tantrums, all of their most worst impulses. You just affirm it. Any person who's a parent knows that that is not the proper way to handle the situation when you're dealing with somebody who is struggling or going through a tough time. It's called tough love for a reason. You have to be honest, you have to be direct, and you have to say, look, this is not normal. This is not right. You need help. And that's what we want for them. We want them to get help. We don't want them to be these freaks, these abominations on display, being the worst of humanity. We don't want that. But that's what a lot of these people are doing.
You know, this is
I'm
3
stupid.
hours ago. There's,
Yes.
you know, over 250,000 people have watched this.
Yes.
And, hey, man, I support his right to think whatever he wants. He has a right
He doesn't believe that. And it's obvious he doesn't believe that.
to dislike people. He has a right to express it as long as it doesn't incite violence. But I would
That's
say
true.
that I'm more bothered by the fact that his audience is just so goddamn big.
Like, I've made comments about, like, how does Moist Critical get an audience that big, being that just brain dead, and like I've made comments like that, but I think that at the end of the day, for me, that's like a jab. It's just a little comment. For him, I think that's like the main thing. You see, this guy is just genuinely upset that Asmongold is big, and that's why he's making the video. He's making the video because Asmongold is such a bigger content creator than he is. I think that's what it is. This guy probably thinks of himself like, I help make God of War. I help make Twisted Metal. Who's this Asmongold guy who's bigger than me? I bet you he has this giant chip on his shoulder where he doesn't understand why Asmon is as big as he is. And he's jealous of it. And that is the majority of the issue. I bet you. In the end, it all comes down to jealousy.
As I said, guys, it's just everybody is really lucky that I'm the most humble and modest streamer. I mean, this amount of ego glazing, like this, it's been going crazy. It really is. It's been going absolutely wild. Wow. Wow. Luckily, this doesn't affect me. Of course, I would never let this affect my ego. That'd be silly.
I don't understand.
You know what the worst?
I mean, I understand how perhaps you can like the guy's gaming content or World of Warcraft content or even his anti-woke content or whatever. But,
I mean, for me personally, I don't think Asmongold is very based. I think on certain things he gets it right. Like just, I think it was just today he did a video saying that he would vote for Bernie Sanders, which is probably up there as one of the most retarded things I've ever heard. Bernie Sanders is one of the worst, one of the most inauthentic, disingenuous, fake, corrupt, whatever the Democrat Party wants, sort of shove a cactus up his ass, losers. I could never, ever, 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 ever vote for Bernie Sanders. He's part of the corruption. He's part of the worst elements of our system right now. But as Asmongold said, yeah, I would vote for Bernie Sanders in 2028, which is atrocious. So there are definite things about Asmongold that I disagree with, but I think that Asmongold is the best as it relates to content creators. I think there are a lot of really bad ones, really fake ones. I think he's at least more authentic than a lot of them. And at the end of the day, he sucks at gaming. He's really bad, which makes it more entertaining. I mean, who wants to watch some guy play World of Warcraft perfectly for the 4,000th time? It's like, no, it's funny because he'll pick up a new game and he'll be just, I mean, no offense, he'll be horrible. And that's the entertainment. That is so much funnier. It's so much better than, let me show you how optimized my run through Molten Core is on Hardcore WoW. It's like, get out of here. No, he's entertaining. He's funny. He isn't, he may not be right all the time, but who is? He's at least willing to admit when he's wrong. And while he may still kiss the ass of the LGBT community, which I think is disgusting and wrong, he at the very least is able to acknowledge and admit the problem, which is more than I can say for a lot of people. A lot of people wouldn't have the courage to do the content that Asmon's doing. And you can, I bring up Moist Quirkle a lot, but he's by no means the only one. You could bring up Ludwig, you could bring up a whole bunch of these people, these plastic, fake, inauthentic, phony content creators that will never do a video on USAID, will never do a video on Democrat corruption, will never do a video on any of this stuff. Never do a video on any of this. So I commend Asmongold in a whole bunch of ways for what he's able to do and for the way that he's able to do it, even if I don't always agree.
I mean, we're coming off the weekend of learning about this story. This was in Atlanta. This was a story, as the New York Times, but it's all over. A person killed in New York was tortured for more than a month. It was a train.
I wonder what David thinks my opinion about this is. I wonder, because I'm really curious. What does he think that I believe about this? It's emotional manipulation. No, it is. It's emotional manipulation. What he's doing is he's using a person, and this is disgusting. The person who killed this person should go to jail for life. Everybody agrees with that. In a good chance, probably torture for more than it's disgusting. Everybody agrees with this.
Trans man, the cops are saying that this is pretty much the repeated acts of violence and torture between December and this month. In my 20-year of law enforcement career, this is one of the most horrific crimes I've ever investigated.
It's terrible.
The facts and circumstances of the crime are beyond
Horrible.
depraved. One of the people who did the torturing and murder was a sex offender who lived in this hotel. And while there is no definitive proof this was or was not a hate crime, they asked the police captain, said such determination has not been ruled out, nor...
So wait a minute, you don't even know if it was a hate crime at all, and you're automatically... So not only... So let me get this straight. So not only do... is the implication that I'm complicit in or okay with having a person being killed because they're gay, but on top of that, it's not even confirmed that that's the reason why. The police aren't even saying that. Now, you're drawing this conclusion, and I think that there's a good chance that he could be right. But we don't...
He's not right. But do you know what else is interesting? I just noticed. They're in New York. New York is the liberal Mecca. I mean, New York is the poster child for everything right with being a Democrat, right? How is it possible that in a hub for liberalism and leftism that you could get somebody to do this? It seems like they're all in New York.
Don't even know this. So this is like level 2 dishonesty. It's second order lying.
Has the possibility of more arrests, so they don't know yet. But I mean,
excuse me.
Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, assume that this very much probably was some sort of a hate crime, because this.
I would assume that it was too, but I mean the police don't, and I think that him framing it this way leads people to I wouldn't accuse and attack somebody off of that assumption. That's a bit much.
Culture that people like Asmongold, in my opinion.
Yes. Please say that I promote killing transgender people. Please say it. I want to hear it, David.
It's intentional. I don't think he's asking or advocating for violence against people. I'm not saying he caused this at all.
Okay,
I think people should be responsible for their own actions, and this guy, I do defend his right to say whatever he wants, but I just, the amount of hate that is out there, and the amount of cruelty towards the LGBT community, and how that, all you have to do is look at the news and listen to these people and stop treating them like jokes and actually just be fucking human for a minute.
I actually disagree. I think that people have been too tolerant. People have been too compassionate. People have been too empathetic on this issue. Way too. Because if you look at everywhere that these people touch, every issue, every topic, it's always some form of degeneracy, some form of filth. It's, we want access to kids. We want access to, women's bathrooms. We want to compete against women so that we can, dominate them in whatever sport. It's always this sort of just abnormal, gross thing that is just so immediately off-putting that anyone can tell that it's wrong. We've been far too compassionate and far too lenient on this stuff, where you have some cities that wave this flag in such number that you would think it was some sort of invasion. Now, there's no doubt that there are some people in the LGBT community that are cool, that are fine. I've known some of them myself. I mean, I couldn't have avoided it. I used to live in California. I used to live near to San Francisco. I've been to Berkeley. I've been to UC Davis. I've seen all of this stuff firsthand. So I understand this problem probably better than this guy. And it is a problem. And everywhere that these people touch, there's just something immediately wrong. And I think that needs to be taken into account when you talk about this issue, that this shouldn't be a movement or a group or a community that is affirmed or tolerated or respected They should be helped. And the way that you help them is by finding ways that they can integrate with normal society and live a fulfilled, wholesome, I would say, religious life. That's personally my belief. And some people may say, well, wait a minute, if you're gay, that means that, you can't be religious. No, that's not true at all. In fact, it's the opposite. The Bible very clearly says that we have urges. We all have urges. But it teaches you that you don't act on them. You do your best to acknowledge that this certain behavior is wrong, and so I'm not going to do it. And the Bible is a template, a guide for living a more wholesome and more fulfilled life. And the people who stray from that, I find, oftentimes are just some of the worst people. It just, like clockwork. I'm not saying all of them, but it is a thing.
And you realize just...
If you want people to not treat you like a joke, then don't act like one.
True.
If you act psychotic and if you act hysterical, you're rude.
Here's a good way. Don't dress like an abomination or a freak and then be rude in public. That's a start.
You're loud. People are going to think that you're an asshole. That's it. It's literally that simple. Mm-hmm. If you behave like a joke, people are going to start laughing.
Yep.
There's no reason that this person needs to behave and act and speak the way.
How much shit these people are dealing with and suffering through. And to be someone sitting up there with all of this guy's money, all of this guy's influence, meaning Asmongold, and
they always focus on how big his audience is, how much money he has. It's such an interesting thing that's what they choose to obsess on, because that's their entire world. How many subscribers does he? How big is he? It's so pathetic. If you have an argument with Asmongold, and I've had multiple arguments. I've done multiple videos where I've criticized him, but I couldn't live with myself if my argument was, well, he's got a big audience and a lot of money, and it's like, dude, no, I have plenty of substantive reasons that I articulate in my videos about, I don't agree with this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. But it's like, I can't understand these people. I just can't. I don't know why they're unable to make a cogent argument about the details of why they're upset, rather than hyper-focusing on irrelevant details like how much money he makes. Who cares? Whether he's completely broke or whether he's a billionaire makes absolutely no difference to the argument. Is he right or is he wrong? That's the only thing that matters, except for to these people who are obsessed with stuff and perception and power, and they think that they should all have it, and it's just gross. If I'm being honest, it's just gross.
And just go, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make money off the misery of this community.
These people will be miserable whether Asmongold watches them or not.
Now, do I think this lady up here, whoever's speaking, is a bit of a goofy person?
Say it.
Yeah. I mean, she's going...
You're not. They're nuts. They're fucking nuts. Like...
Yeah.
So you even agree with me? Like, you're just mad that people... Like, what is even the problem?
Out of her way to be flamboyant and
Yes.
get attention, and that's what she wants and that's what she needs to get her message out. And
But it's not. It's not getting the message out. It's doing the opposite effect. That's why the video that I did was so popular.
True.
That's the whole point that I'm making. It's that doing this and the message that they're giving people is that this group of people is hysterical, obnoxious, psychotic, and rude. It's not benefiting anybody. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help their cause. It doesn't help people that are against them. It's just toxic to everything.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the conversation, is that you need to get these toxic, privileged narcissists out of social causes, go back to your fucking gated communities, and solve the problems in your own fucking life, rather than dragging around the cross looking for a cause that'll nail you up to it.
Base. Yeah. You know, every once in a while, Asmon comes out with a banger like that. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was fantastic. Absolutely correct, 100%.
It's fucking obnoxious. It's annoying, and everybody can see it.
Yep.
It's exhausting.
Opens yourself up to that. But that said, though, you know, Asmongold, read the fucking room, man. You can have your opinion. People can support.
Read the room. Everyone was laughing at them. They were an embarrassment. What do you mean, read the room? Read the room. You read the room. The country voted for Donald Trump. They're done with this. They didn't want this in the beginning, and they certainly don't want it now.
I'm supposed to read the room when everybody you just said before that everybody was saying that I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm reading the room and you just complain that there's a lot of people in my room, it sure seems like I can read pretty well, huh?
Respect your opinion, but what are you doing, man? You've got 3 million people who watch your shit. These people are dying. They're not coming for you, buddy. You gotta be. You can't be as successful as you have been so far, Asmongold, and not recognize that there are people on both sides of all these kinds of arguments that use these as wedge issues to piss people off and get.
You're completely right. That's a great point that he brings up, and I think that's absolutely true. And I said the same thing before about those protesters, those counter-protesters in New Zealand. I said that I disagree with them. I think that they're ridiculous. They were anti-LGBT. I said that 2 days ago. I said it was ridiculous to do that. It's outrageous.
Why is it ridiculous? I don't know the details of that particular thing, but I don't think it's ridiculous to be anti-LGBTQ. I think it's perfectly normal. Perfectly
constituents
reasonable.
And folks mad that would contribute to their campaign or their PR.
Yes.
You must know that. And I don't think you have a responsibility to anyone but yourself. I'm not trying to shame you or anything. Not that my little channel could do that, but I'm not trying to make it like...
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. And you're bitter and jealous and pathetic.
Like you are...
I mean, the video is titled Asmongold. You spelled my name wrong. Should know and be better. Should know, do, / be better. I mean, I feel like that's kind of shaming, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, David, like, I'm a grown-ass man. I can handle this. I can handle criticism. You don't need to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to get my feelings fucking hurt. I'm not a little bitch on Twitter. I get it. I'm fine. I'm good.
Because you have a big following, you have to be a, quote, good guy in my eyes. But could you at least think before you hit publish or post or whatever the fuck you do?
Hello, Council.
This is him reacting.
I don't know, maybe his audience is like 12-year-old boys. Maybe they really buy this and think it's funny.
I have a feeling that his audience is probably 35 to 40-year-old men, balding, white, fat.
And again, you can hate this lady.
They're not. I've showed my demographics before. David is part of my core audience. I've got a lot of Davids in my core audience. I was driving home from the gas station today. I walked out to the parking lot, and there was a guy that looked a little bit kind of like David, about the same age. Hey! Yeah, so actually, that's not really the case.
And you can hate everything she stands for, but for the love of God, could you at least acknowledge that this guy's full of shit? Do you really think this is a real, genuine laugh? So it's like I respect the audience more, and it's like, really, dude. But hey, if they buy it, they buy it, man. I love the WWE. I know it's bullshit. Maybe people know this is bullshit too. I don't know. Here he goes. This will take a while, but let's enjoy.
Let's go back. We're gonna go forward.
You're so of those particular. Sounds like this guy believes. All of these institutions that are being chopped by Doge and Trump.
Now he's going to rant about Doge. He's mad that they're not sending $20 billion to feminist interpretive lesbian dance in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Or at least attempting to be. We'll see what stands up in court, but attempting to be. Do you guys really think the savings of those particular bodies in government that cost money is going to be passed on to the consumer? Do you think your egg prices are really going to go down? No, it's to pay for the tax.
I'm not even. I'm not following this at all. I'm very confused. Maybe I'm coming in halfway through the point.
Tax breaks for the top 1%. This is documented.
I literally just spent an hour arguing with people to where I think that there should be more entitlement programs, like literally an hour, and so like.
I mean, I would have to hear more about that. As a general rule, I would say no. I don't think there should be more entitlement programs.
We don't really need to retread the same ground. Everybody knows that that's not what I believe. In economic policy, I am probably one of the most left-leaning people that there is.
That's probably why he would vote for Bernie. Massive L.
The idea that he says, well, that's how we get where we are. Where are we? Where exactly are we? How are you suffering under the last 15 or 20 years? Certainly compared to the LGBT community, you're not. How are you suffering over the last 20 years by the fact that, there is a Institute of National Health? How, the only thing that might have bothered you for is because maybe they say, hey, you can't, cohabitate with roaches and rats, and thus.
I don't have a problem with the Ministry of.
Look, I just noticed this. Look at this thing on his backboard. It says "Protect Trans Kids." So I'll just let you know that if not for Asmongold, I'd probably stop the video here and do a rant on this guy. That he's an absolute creep, and that is disgusting and despicable and evil. I had the same position when Moist Critical came out and said he was in favor of transitioning kids. But yeah, pretty much anything this guy says from this point forward, he may as well be a talking mound of shit that's just belching out lines and just excreting his disgusting ooze. But I mean, that right there is that is a damning thing.
Of health, that's fine. But to act like everything that they're doing is a good idea, I think that's an issue.
That forced you to clean your fucking house. Maybe that was it, and you have a bone to pick with these guys. I don't know. And again, I don't have any personal issues with Asmongold. I really don't.
After two personal ones.
Yeah, you do. You do. You obviously do. Maybe because he's not maybe he's not somebody who wants to hurt children like you do. Wants to abuse, mutilate. I'm just going to stop at abuse and mutilate, because who knows what else you want to do to children if you think that it's okay to introduce them to sexuality. The way that you would with this cult, to put them on this assembly line for life, to have to take pills and go through surgery and all this stuff. I cannot emphasize enough how genuinely evil this sign is. And anyone who wears it, posts it, puts it up there. I think this person's kid should be taken from him. I absolutely do, 100%. This guy says that he has a trans kid. I know some people will say that's too far. No, I don't think it's far enough. I think people like that should be in prison. I think that's abuse. You see these Hollywood women coming out and saying, "Oh, both my kids are trans." I think they should be in prison. I think the sentence should be so draconian and severe that it sets an example that you don't get to do that. You don't get to abuse your kids that way. I think that's absolutely indefensible, unconscionable. In fact, I don't even want to watch any more of this video. This guy's a piece of garbage. It just, for me, it's not even worth listening to him anymore. With a sticker like that's just, in his terms, that would be like putting a swastika up in a video. I mean, he wouldn't watch a video from somebody like that. I'm not going to watch a video anymore from somebody like him. He's evil. He's perverse. He's a bitter, jealous, sad, pathetic man, and it's sad to see. It's sad to see the de-evolution of these people. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.